Another thing where Brittney Griner says that says something about that effing white girl. Now, can you imagine the outrage if Caitlin Clark said those things? I was that injuries that black girl was running from.
The energy surrounding the WNBA this season has been absolutely electric, driven by the unprecedented arrival of a generational talent who has galvanized the sport like never before. But beneath the surface of record attendance and skyrocketing viewership, deep, uncomfortable tensions have been simmering. Now, a single shocking incident captured on video has blown those tensions wide open, exposing what many are calling a troubling pattern of hostility and raising urgent questions about how the league is protecting its biggest star. Or failing to. At the heart of this firestorm is a moment that occurred during a seemingly routine regular season game between the Indiana Fever, led by the phenomenon Caitlin Clark, and the Atlanta Dream, featuring veteran star Brittney Griner. The game itself was intensely competitive, filled with the usual back and forth of professional basketball. But as the fourth quarter wound down, the atmosphere on the court grew increasingly heated, particularly for one player.
Not too sure what she said, but the way people are taking it is that she said some very disrespectful stuff. All right, so let's take a look at what she is saying right here. I'm not a lip reader, but it looked like right here she says, effing white girls. Oh man, effing trash, effing white girls. Effing trash right there. Effing white.
Brittney Griner, a dominant force known for her imposing presence, appeared visibly frustrated throughout the game. She was battling foul trouble, repeatedly being whistled by the referees in ways that clearly agitated her. Every call seemed to chip away at her composure, building towards a breaking point. And in the high-stakes final minutes of the game, that moment arrived with undeniable drama. After yet another whistle went against her, Brittney Griner accumulated her sixth personal foul. She had fouled out. Ejection is a difficult moment for any competitor, a forced removal from the battle. But as Griner turned and began her walk to the bench, rather than exiting quietly, she was caught on camera, her face etched with frustration, mouthing words as she passed the Indiana Fever bench.
The post from Brittney Griner, and one thing I don't understand is that, like, there is some kind of flimsy evidence, I guess. Like, we're not lip readers. We're not lip readers. She probably says trash. Like, it sounds like she has said. It looks like what it apparently says is effing.
The camera zoomed in, capturing the sequence with jarring clarity. Almost instantly, the footage hit social media and a digital firestorm erupted. What did she say? The intensity of the moment, the target of her apparent ire, Caitlin Clark was nearby, and Griner's visible emotion immediately sparked intense speculation. And rapidly, one particular interpretation of her words began to dominate the online discussion. While some initially suggested she might have just been venting about the refs, muttering trash in frustration, a far more damaging lip-reading analysis quickly gained traction. According to numerous viewers and commentators attempting to decipher her lips, Brittney Griner appeared to mouth undeniably and clearly, effing white girl. This interpretation, accompanied by the context of the situation, a veteran player fouling out against the team led by the league's white superstar, ignited outrage and solidified into a widely accepted narrative.
If you guys did not watch the game in its entirety, Brittney Griner fouled out late in the fourth, and she was in foul trouble the whole game. The referees was definitely calling everything on her. Even though the Indiana Fever really didn't get a chance to shoot a bunch of free throws that game, they was making specifically calls against Brittney Griner, and she was getting frustrated about it, man. Now, footage has surfaced, a couple different takes on this clip as well as to what she actually said. Some people saying she didn't call Caitlin Clark a effing white girl. Some people say that she said what a effing whack call. At the end of the day, she said something, and
Now, it's crucial to acknowledge the inherent ambiguity in lip reading. Without Griner herself confirming the words, there's always a sliver of uncertainty. But in the rapid-fire world of social media and viral moments, perception often overrides absolute proof. For millions of people who watched that clip, the visual evidence, coupled with the surrounding context and existing narratives about tension in the league, was convincing enough. The belief that Brittney Griner, a prominent black player, used a racial slur directed at Caitlin Clark, the white player who has suddenly eclipsed many veterans in fame and attention, has become the established reality in the public consciousness. And that reality, perceived or otherwise, is causing immense damage. The fallout was immediate and intense. The clip spread like wildfire, dominating sports headlines and sparking debates across every platform. Fans were furious. Commentators were perplexed, and questions began mounting about how the WNBA would respond to such a serious allegation involving two of its most discussed players.
Well, now it appears that Brittney Griner has been caught on video. And yes, there's a certain amount of lip reading that's going on here, but y'all let you be the judge, because I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to try to decipher what it is Brittney Griner was saying. By the way, she fouled out of a WNBA game against Caitlin Clark in the Indiana Fever. She plays for the Atlanta Dream now. So here we go. Brittney Griner, who Joe Biden acquired 2 years ago and maybe the most lopsided trade of all time, this side of Deshaun Watson, was caught on camera saying what appeared to be some not very nice things about white girl Caitlin Clark during her little WNBA game last night.
And the league's response? A silence so profound, it has become a controversy in itself. Days have passed since the alleged incident and the viral footage, yet the WNBA has issued no public statement, announced no investigation into the alleged comments, and taken no visible disciplinary action against Brittney Griner. This conspicuous lack of response, particularly given the severity of the alleged language and the profile of the players involved, has been widely condemned as a stunning failure of leadership and a complete dereliction of duty. This silence is made even more baffling, even offensive to some, when juxtaposed with how the league handled a separate, far less serious incident involving Caitlin Clark in the very same game. Earlier in that matchup, Clark had a brief, heated exchange with Atlanta Dream player Ryan Howard. It involved some physical contact and heated words, typical of competitive sports, ultimately resulting in a technical foul being called on both players. The league, in that instance, was quick to act. They reviewed the incident and issued a $30 fine to both Caitlin Clark and Ryan Howard.
Seeing a lot of very, very racist women, right? These are racist women who were taught that they were God's gift to women's basketball, that they are black, and because of that, they are better than white people at sports. That's the one area that they can succeed over white people in sports, right? And this is their league, right? Then you got a young, the stereotypical white girl, pretty, skinny, is better than it comes into the sport and becomes the Michael Jordan, LeBron James of the sport. The face gets more publicity on one than they ever got in some of their playoff, any of their games ever. Brings more money. They are extremely jealous and won't say it. They want to make it like it's typical basketball. But no, they have made it very clear. Angel Reese, the Brittney Griners, that nobody cared about their league before.
Let that sink in for a moment. A minor on-court spat, resulting in a technical foul, prompted a swift response from the league, assigning equal blame to both players and issuing identical, albeit negligible, fines. Yet, footage appearing to show one of their most famous players using what is widely interpreted as a racial slur directed at the league's undeniable superstar? Nothing. Complete, unadulterated silence and inaction. This glaring, almost inexplicable inconsistency is screaming double standard and is dismantling any notion that the league applies its rules fairly or consistently. It sends a message that a minor push receives a public penalty, but potentially hateful language goes ignored. So, why the silence? Why the apparent inaction on such a serious allegation? And why does there seem to be such a pervasive undercurrent of hostility directed at Caitlin Clark from some within the league? Many are pointing to a controversial, uncomfortable truth that the WNBA seems desperate to avoid acknowledging. The sudden, overwhelming success of a young white player has fundamentally disrupted the established order in a league that has historically been predominantly black.
Then we have another thing where Brittney Griner says that says something about that effing white girl. Now, can you imagine the outrage if Caitlin Clark said those things? That Angel Reese, that black girl, was running from that. Why is it that the black players can be openly racist? There's investigation into racist comments, but you can be racist toward a white girl who is bringing all these eyes to the WNBA.
The narrative, expressed by some players and amplified by commentators, suggests a deep-seated resentment from veterans who feel a sense of ownership over the league. They've played for years, often with limited recognition or pay, fighting to build the WNBA. And now, almost overnight, an outsider, perceived by some through a racial lens, arrives and completely rewrites the script, bringing in unprecedented attention, money, and fan interest that the veterans feel should have come sooner or resulted from their efforts. Players like Brittney Griner and Angel Reese are frequently cited as examples of this phenomenon, exhibiting behaviors towards Clark that many interpret as more than just competitive fire, behaviors tinged with resentment, jealousy, and in Griner's alleged case, potentially racial animus. This theory is divisive, but it's the one many believe explains the seemingly inexplicable level of negative energy directed at Clark. Because make no mistake, Caitlin Clark's impact on the WNBA is not just significant, it is revolutionary. She is a financial lifeline and a cultural phenomenon. Before her arrival, the league struggled for mainstream attention, consistent viewership, and major sponsorships. Now, she sells out every arena she plays in. Her games are routinely breaking viewership records, often drawing more viewers than major men's sports events. Her jersey is the best-selling in league history by a massive margin. Major corporations and media outlets are suddenly invested in the WNBA narrative because of her. She is, by any objective measure, the single most valuable asset the league currently possesses, the engine driving its current period of unprecedented growth.
A lot of people believe that Bob Griner said trash followed by fucking white girl. Now, like I said, I'm not a lip reader. I don't know what she said. But again, the perception is the only thing that matters. And the perception throughout the WNBA is players dislike Caitlin Clark because she's white. I think the main reason they dislike Caitlin Clark is because she's white and has elevated the league into the...
Yet, the league's response to the alleged Griner incident and the perceived pattern of hostility towards Clark in general suggests a baffling lack of strategic thinking. By failing to protect their most valuable player from what many see as harassment and potentially racially charged behavior, the WNBA appears to be actively undermining its own success. Allowing a toxic environment to persist around Clark risks damaging her brand, potentially alienating the millions of new fans she has brought in, and jeopardizing future sponsorship deals. From a purely business perspective, this is an unforced error of monumental proportions. It's akin to a company allowing its star employee, the one bringing in all the new clients and revenue, to be openly targeted and disrespected without consequence. It's not just morally wrong, it's strategically suicidal.
The thing is, I wonder what would happen if you catch one of the white players saying effing black girls. You know what I'm saying? Like, what would happen if Caitlin Clark was saying something around that way with her lips? Oh, the internet would burn down, fam. They will be coming at Caitlin Clark left and right. You already have some people, especially in the media, saying, oh yeah, Caitlin Clark always get these special whistles. She's this, she's that, race this, race that. So I can only imagine if she messed around and had a video that was close to something like this. Come on, fam.
The lack of accountability for the alleged Griner comments sends damaging messages across the entire sport. What does it tell young girls watching? That if you achieve success, if you break barriers and bring unprecedented attention, you might become a target for negativity and disrespect from your peers, and the authorities won't step in to protect you. It teaches them that instead of striving for excellence and sportsmanship, it's acceptable to resort to poor behavior, even potentially hateful language, out of frustration or jealousy. It makes the league's stated values, its recent campaigns against racism and hate, seem hollow and performative.
At WNBA, what is your current policy on respect to fellow players and racially motivated hostility? Yeah, I mean, what are we doing here?
The calls for disciplinary action, including a potential suspension for Brittney Griner, are not simply about punishment. They are about establishing and enforcing fundamental standards of professionalism and respect that should exist in any workplace, let alone a major professional sports league. A decisive action from the WNBA would signal that racial language and hostile behavior will not be tolerated, regardless of a player's status or fame. It would demonstrate a commitment to creating a safe and respectful environment for all athletes, explicitly including the one currently carrying the league on her back.
What happens when a white girl joins a majority black league? Her coming to the league brings more viewers, more ad money. The Caitlin Clark tide is going to, if embraced, rise all boats. The majority in the league, which is black women, has done everything they can to not welcome Caitlin Clark to the league. Why? There has never been any cost for black WNBA players.
Taking action would show Caitlin Clark, her teammates, her fans, and potential future players that the WNBA is serious about upholding integrity and protecting its talent. It's not about giving Clark special treatment, it's about applying universal standards of conduct consistently. Every player, from the most decorated veteran to the newest rookie, should be held to the same level of professional behavior.
One person said, I will be reaching out to the WNBA to ask if Caitlin Clark, a trash effing white girl, violates its recent announcement, no tolerance for racism and no space for hate campaign. We'll report back. Now, that is interesting because we know that they've been pushing their whole campaign about racism, attacks, and all these different scenarios playing out in the W.
The incident involving Brittney Griner's alleged comment is more than just a viral moment. It's a pivotal reckoning for the WNBA. The league is facing a critical choice that will define its identity and future. Will it finally demonstrate the courage to confront difficult issues, enforce its standards consistently, and protect the player who has breathed new life into the sport? Or will it continue its pattern of silence and perceived timidity, confirming the criticisms of bias and weak leadership? The response, or continued lack thereof, to this alleged act of hostility will speak volumes about what the WNBA truly values and whether it is capable of safeguarding the future it has unexpectedly been handed. The eyes of the sports world are watching, waiting to see if the league will step up and protect its greatest asset, or allow toxicity to overshadow the unprecedented wave of success.